welcome to Kirk Show, episode 41.
Today, we'd like to talk real briefly about a documentary which we just watched last night, even though it's been out for a week. Man on Wire.
Man on Wire.
Man, oh man, was he cuckoo or what? This is a story about, a true story, about a Frenchman, Philippe Petit, who in 1974, his big dream, he was a tightrope walker, and his big dream was to cross the World Trade Center towers, the two towers. Twin Towers. If I say two towers, what do we have to assume it's Lord of the Rings? The Twin Towers, the two towers. And this resonates heavily now because those towers are no longer there. But this was in 1974, and this crazy guy had already crossed a bridge in Australia, in Sydney, while people were on it, way above it, and also in Notre Dame. He had crossed over from the church, right? Remember that? Mm-hmm. So he has this little gang of helpers who intermingle and stuff. And
he's pickpocketer.
Yeah, he's obviously... They tell you things through actual footage and photos, and then they do these funny little reenactments throughout. And there's footage of him, apparently as a mime, racing around on a unicycle in France, and he's got sleight of hand down. He's got all the little characteristics of a mime performer down. So he sees pictures of the World Trade Center towers they haven't been built yet. But as soon as he sees what they're going to look like, it's his dream to cross on a wire in between because he's insane. So he spends like several years trying to figure out how to do it, and they build the towers, and then he spends 8 months in New York figuring out how to get past the security, how to get all this heavy equipment and wiring up to the top without getting caught, how they're going to get it across to the other tower. Now that's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, they shot it with an arrow.
With an arrow, and it had a little thin rope, and they had to pull these across. It's just crazy. It's kind of like a suspense movie, even though you know that ultimately it happens because it's a true story. But they had to go through so many obstacles, and not least of which is just the weather, the wind, what would happen with the wire, and just the fact. And it was almost like once he finally got up there, the wire walking was the easiest thing about the whole thing, wasn't it? And he spent almost an hour on this wire. But I highly recommend it. What do you think?
I highly recommend it also.
Do you? It's kind of funny when they do the reenactments of they're showing them trying to get the stuff up into the towers without getting caught, that they on both sides they have to split up into two teams. There's security guards almost catch them, and in the one they have to throw a tarp over themselves. So it's like they have to sit there perfectly still for several hours, and the tarp's just like perfectly, like two people are under the tarp, isn't it? And the guard never notices. Anyway, kind of fascinating. Except there's one thing before we recommend it to everyone. There's a small section at the end, I'm not sure why it was included, that's a little bit burlesque with some nudity. The scene, it doesn't last real long, but you know, if you have children and you want to see this, kind of be aware of that coming up near the end. Fast forward. Did you mind it? It caught me off guard. I didn't even know it was coming. What did you do when you saw it? Scream for help! Alright, so next week we will be back with our second Christmas show. We've been doing this for a year. We haven't had it up broadcast for a year, but we've been doing this for a year.
Wow.
So until then, have a lovely pre-Christmas, and we will see you before Christmas. Peace out.
This movie, Man on Wire, is about the indomitability of the human spirit.